What if the hardest part of pursuing something you love is not the competition itself, but convincing the people who raised you that it is worth leaving the house for? Most of us learn early that certain passions are allowed to stay private hobbies while others demand justification. Video games, especially fighting games, still sit in that awkward category for many families. Intense, competitive, socially invisible until they suddenly become public. In episode 5 of Young Ladies Don't Play Fighting Games, a group of high school girls from Nagasaki prepare for EVO Japan under the polite fiction that they are simply taking a vacation. The real obstacle is not the bracket. It is a mother who cannot imagine her daughter wanting anything else, a forged signature that almost happens, and the quiet terror of being seen as the girl who only cares about games. The episode never pretends the deception is noble. It simply asks whether honesty is always possible when the people you love still measure you by the one thing you used to be. This is a travel and permission episode that keeps its comedy sharp while letting anxiety and genuine affection share the same scenes. The tone moves between dorm banter, awkward parental negotiation, airport disorientation, and late-night ranked matches without losing the characters' distinct voices. The central tension is practical and emotional at once. Can these girls get to Tokyo without fully explaining why they need to be there? The episode is interesting because it treats that practical problem as a test of friendship and identity rather than pure farce. The episode opens in the dormitory with the familiar mix of formality and chaos that defines the series. Forms are incomplete, travel plans are half-formed, and the girls are already treating EVO Japan as both a serious goal and an adventure. Hana is going out, unusual enough to draw comment, while Aya and the others begin assembling the logistics of a trip that must look like sightseeing. The practical work is interrupted by the reality of school rules. Excursion forms require a parent's signature. Mio does not have hers. The conversation turns quickly from "don't forget" to the darker possibility of forging one. The group rejects the idea on legal and practical grounds. The school might call. The safer strategy is a clean story, a vacation with friends, nothing about games. The subtext is clear. The girls understand that the truth would end the trip before it starts. That decision leads them to Mio's home. Her mother is delighted that Mio has finally brought friends. The delight is genuine and almost overwhelming. When the request comes, permission for Tokyo, to see the sights, the mother's skepticism is immediate. Mio only cares about video games. Left unsupervised, she will disappear into them. The girls present themselves as dorm monitors with a full itinerary of normal tourist spots. The mother flips through the guide, lights up at omotesando and pancakes, and softens. Mio, visibly struggling, produces a midterm exam result and claims she studied hard because she was looking forward to the trip. The mother interprets the improved grades and the new friends as proof that something besides games now matters. She signs. The relief that follows is quiet and collective. The barrier is gone. The airport sequence is pure disorientation comedy. Tokyo is supposed to be overwhelming. Narita is not Tokyo. The girls correct each other, navigate, and begin the real transition. Once in the city, the conversation turns to player names. You registered Mio as White Lily without asking. The nickname becomes a running wound and a running joke. The others reveal their own handles. Iniyu, Ayaman, Taya-senpai, each carrying a different degree of self-awareness or embarrassment. The registration scene is both logistical cleanup and character comedy. Competence mixed with the kind of careless intimacy that only exists among people who have already decided they are a unit. Night in Tokyo becomes practice. They play, analyze, and argue. Mio's tendency to close distance and then simply block is dissected as data gathering rather than passivity. The advice that follows, push the buttons with feeling, is delivered with complete seriousness and received with justified skepticism. The comedy lands because the group already understands that Mio's reads are real even if her explanations are not. Parallel to this, one of the girls is still processing nerves about the tournament. The exchange that follows is the episode's most direct emotional statement. High school girls who came all the way from Nagasaki for a fighting game tournament, yet they are still gaming in a room instead of seeing the city. The observation is not an accusation. It is recognition that their seriousness is both strength and limitation. The final stretch cuts to a professional team. A player on a 99-win streak loses to an unfamiliar Guile main named Alice_Alice_. The loss is treated lightly, but the name is filed away with the comment that they may meet at EVO Japan. The episode ends on that quiet flag and the usual credits. Mio begins the episode in the familiar position of the obsessive who cannot easily translate her passion into language her mother will accept. Her desire is simple: play at EVO. Her fear is that the truth will end the possibility. The strategy she almost chooses, forgery, is rejected by the group. The strategy that works is partial truth plus improved grades plus friends who look responsible. By the end, she has the signature and the trip, but the cost is continued concealment. The relationship relationship with her mother is temporarily smoother precisely because the mother still does not know the full picture. Aya functions as the practical organizer and the one who absorbs logistical and emotional labor. She handles the travel guide, the accommodation through relatives, and the quiet reassurance that they will keep an eye on Mio. Her own player name and history appear only in passing, but her presence stabilizes the group.use registration of White Lily, is both a genuine mistake and a character beat. She is casual about names and consequences until confronted. The apology is real, but the damage is lasting enough to become a running gag. The dynamic between her and Mio is affectionate irritation rather than real fracture. The senior, Tamatia/Taya Senpai, carries quiet fatigue from balancing monitor duties and local play. Her player name is the most self-conscious of the group, and her later conversation about nerves reveals someone who is serious enough to feel the gap between effort and results. The scene in which the others gently call out how hard she pushes herself is one of the few moments of direct emotional observation in the episode. Mio's mother is not a villain. She is a parent who has watched her daughter disappear into games and now sees friends and slightly better grades as evidence of growth. The irony is that the growth she celebrates is still powered by the same obsession she distrusts. The episode does not resolve that contradiction. It simply uses it. The dominant theme is the gap between private passion and public legitimacy. Fighting games are treated by the girls as serious competitive practice and by the adult world as something that requires a cover story. The episode never argues that the cover story is ideal. It simply shows the cost of honesty when the listener is not ready to hear it. Secondary themes include the practical mechanics of friendship, who handles forms, who forges the story, who absorbs parental anxiety, the way player names become identity markers that can be assigned without consent, and the tension between sightseeing and pure focus. The vacation framing is both a lie and a partial truth. They are in Tokyo, they do have an itinerary, and they still spend the night playing. The episode lets both realities exist without forcing a moral ranking. A quieter theme is the difference between studying an opponent and explaining talent. Mio's blocking habit is reframed as data collection. Her push the buttons with feeling answer is left standing as something the others cannot use. The episode suggests that certain kinds of competitive sense resist clean explanation. The parental negotiation is the episode's strongest sequence. It balances comedy, genuine affection, and the quiet pressure of performance without tipping into either pure farce or melodrama. The group's collective decision to protect the lie while still rejecting forgery feels consistent with their established dynamic. The player name comedy is specific and character-driven rather than generic teasing. The late-night conversation about seriousness and nerves gives the competitive anxiety an actual voice instead of leaving it as background motivation. The transition from permission to airport to hotel is efficient but thin. The sense of arrival is mostly dialogue rather than accumulated texture. The professional team coda is functional as a flag for future conflict but feels slightly abrupt in tone after the more intimate dorm and family material. Mio's improved exam result is a convenient plot device that the episode does not interrogate. It works for the mother and for the narrative, but it also lets the deception succeed a little too cleanly. The episode could have lingered longer on the cost of the cover story once the signature is obtained. The relief is real, yet the ongoing requirement to keep the truth hidden is left largely unspoken. A slightly sharper contrast between the mother's idea of a normal vacation and the girl's actual priorities would have deepened the irony without requiring additional plot, letting the mother be warm and still wrong about what her daughter needs. Treating the forged signature temptation as a real option that is then rejected on practical grounds rather than pure morality. Allowing the push the buttons with feeling line to stand without being fully debunked or validated. Why does Mio's mother accept the story so readily once the itinerary and grades appear? The episode shows her delight at Mio having friends and her relief at any evidence of broader interests. The grades function as proof of effort directed towards something other than pure gaming. Whether that proof is accurate is left open. The mother's interpretation is what the plot needs, is White Lily, a permanent name or a temporary embarrassment. Within the episode, it is both. The registration is already done. The nickname sticks as a source of irritation and comedy. Future episodes will determine how long the group lets it remain. Who is Alice_Alice_? The professional players do not know the name. The episode presents the account as an aggressive guile main active on ranked and flags the possibility of a meeting at EVO Japan. No further identity is given in the subtitles. The signature sequence at Mio's house is the episode's emotional center. The mother's initial skepticism, the girls' careful presentation of themselves as responsible monitors, Mio's visible strain while producing the exam paper, and the mother's final decision to interpret the evidence as growth all land with precision. The scene works because every character is acting from a coherent, limited perspective. No one is purely right or purely manipulative. The player name reveal reveal and the subsequent argument over White Lily convert a logistical error into lasting character texture. The humor is specific to these people and their history. The late-night conversation about nerves and seriousness is quieter but effective. It acknowledges that the same intensity that got them to Tokyo also keeps them from experiencing Tokyo, and it does so without turning the observation into a lecture. Episode 5 is a permission episode that understands permission is never only bureaucratic. The girls get the signature, the beds, and the trip. They also keep the part of themselves that matters most carefully out of the official story. The central question the introduction raised, whether honesty is always possible when the people you love still measure you by the one thing you used to be, remains open. The episode does not solve it. It simply shows what competent, affectionate people do when the answer is still no. They build a workable fiction, protect each other inside it, and keep playing. That may be the most honest thing the episode does.